I did business for 20 years and something in which I knew I didn't want to do, but it took 20 years to decide whether I want to do that or
not. I don't think enough work has been done on integrity or ethics. We have with us two MBAs who are doing completely different things.
हमारा काम है ना बहुत बीमार है. This is what he tells me in a first meeting, and I was just shaken up. I said, "What the hell, बीमार है? Like I'm a great. I don't need this guy. I'm going out of it."
अगर IIT जाओगे तो लाइफ सेट हो जाए. वो तो 10th से बोलता है. 10th करोगे तो लाइफ सेट. 12th. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of ReSchool. Like always, we have two stellar guests with us. We have Swati and we have Vinay. And they both lead their fields in an amazing way. And we would love to hear from them about the work that they do. So, hi Swati, welcome to the ReSchool podcast.
Thank you, Meenal, for inviting me.
Yeah, and would you like to introduce yourself to our audience and talk about what is it that you do?
Absolutely. So as you know, my name is Swati, and I am an engineer who ended up doing her MBA later. Wow. As I had no clue what I was doing. So my schooling was across different cities in India, and I studied across, I think, 5 cities during my school time. But we'll talk about it. My favorite was when I was in Mumbai, and my teenage years were spent in Mumbai. After that, I went to IIT Delhi for my undergrad. In my first year, I realized I don't like engineering. Okay. And then, discovered life, went into a consulting firm, spent 5 years there, went to Wharton to do my MBA. Okay. But always wanted to come back to the home country, India, and wanted to contribute to the Indian economy. Wow. And that's when my passion for education, started, worked in edtech startups, ran my own career guidance startup, and now I'm leading the undergrad program for Masters Union.
Wow. What a long, curvy journey, I must say. That. Beautiful. Absolutely. Hi, Vinay. Yeah.
Hi, Sally. So basically, I'm known as a photographer. Okay. In India. So I am basically an architecture and documentary photographer. Okay. And I also started as a businessman, and I did my MBA in marketing, and I did business for 20 years, and something in which I knew I didn't want to do, but it took 20 years to decide whether I want to do that or not.
Wow.
So at the age of 38, I picked up the camera, and at the age of 44, I'm a full-time photographer. I turned into a full-time photographer, and I'm now following my passion. I've been lucky because there have been incidences where I was not a professional photographer, and I got to shoot for National Geographic, and I still am working with the United Nations since 12 years, and I've done books on our Prime Minister. I've done books on many celebrities. So basically, that helped me take that step, and maybe a little late in life, but I realized what I want to do, and today I'm happy I'm doing what I want to do.
Unbelievable. So we have with us two MBAs who are doing completely different things than what is the so-called MBA degree wants you to kind of understand and all of that. So yeah, it's beautiful to see how journeys pan out. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was it like? What were the growing up years like? And what is it that shaped you?
Yeah. So I was born in a very small town in Punjab. It's called Malerkotla. And a very simple, humble family, right? Dad was in a bank, very middle class. Mom was a homemaker. And I think that small town kind of gives you, I think, a lot of humility. Even, like lives have progressed, and touch wood, we have everything that we need. But there's never that aspiration of materialism, right? I don't need those luxury bags and all of that, because you've come from humble backgrounds, right? So I think that what's your family background kind of shapes how you live and your lifestyle. And my life, and as I told you, my favorite years was my teenage years, when I was in Mumbai. And there I realized the importance of opportunities. Right? Now in a small town, the schoolings at that time, in 1990s wasn't that great. And early 2000s is when I moved to Mumbai. And suddenly the world opened to me. big city, big exposure, everybody's talking.
the maximum city. The city to be.
Yeah, and then suddenly everybody's talking in English. I'm not used to it. And I was like, oh, now. And the quality of education improved. I was not just, learning ki acha ye chapter hai, ye questions hai, just, which we call the ratta. And I was learning the concepts. And I think that then laid down the foundation of my JE years and how I cracked JE. Because in my teenage years, I was fundamentally understanding the concepts and the logic behind the science or anything, and that's how my interest in science also came up. So I think the kind of school that you go to, the kind of family that you belong to, shapes your life pretty much.
Okay, so that led you to JEE and then to IIT and all that. Okay, amazing. Yes.
So I've been born and brought up in Ahmedabad, but our roots belong in Uttarakhand. So we had that influence because our entire family was there, coming from a small town. My father was from there. And so basically, I've just been an outdoor person. I was in Loyola, and basically, Loyola was always just outdoors, looking out of the windows, waiting to go to the grounds. So, sports, Loyola was sports. And so we had that liberty in school where we were spending a lot of time playing. And then maybe home, all we were doing is playing. There was not too much of pressure. Built upon our parents, so we didn't have any aspirations कि हमारे MBA करूँ से कि I knew my father had a business and probably he was my role model, and I looked upon him and I thought I was the only son and I'm going to be the bread earner for the family, so I'm going to join the business. It was very clear. So it was only about sports and leading a simple student life where I was doing reasonably well in studies. And no big aspirations and no thought also that I'm going to do anything related to creativity ever in life.
Wow. So no this running helter skelter to this class and that class and trying to do this and achieve it all before you are 18 and kind of have all the boxes checked to kind of do that. So yeah, at times I see children of today and I am super exhausted just hearing their itinerary. The other day I met a child who had applied and she went to some 12 different classes in a week. And this is a 7-year-old I'm talking about. And I was like, but your timetable is busier than mine. Like, how do you even manage this? So, yeah, things have changed drastically. And that brings me to the other half of saying that you both lead your own fields and you work with adults and you work at cutting edge space in terms of say photography, or this whole idea of visual communication is something that's up and coming, and everybody is trying to understand how to picture yourself better, how to make your space better. You work with Masters Union, you're a founder there, where you are saying that schools and colleges need to relook at things. So what is it that you see? What are the trends that you see with the people that you work with today, as opposed to say what you were brought up as in your childhood? And what are the changes that you've seen in the past 10 years, 20 years?
Should I take it up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I think earlier a lot of hard skills mattered, right? If you look at early 2000s, India was being categorized as the IT. Our IT sector was booming. Everybody knew India for a software developer. So we're very well known for our hard skills, which even today is relevant. But as more and more I'm working with people, no matter how great your hard skills are, soft skills is what is going to take you ahead. Right. So, over the time of working with different individuals, I think one of the skills that has really come up is communication. If you're really smart, but if you don't know how to put your idea in a structured fashion to the stakeholders that you're managing, it's going to become problematic that you won't be able to convince people of your idea, right? So, communication becomes important. Second is the ability to handle uncertainty or ambiguity. I've seen so many people so capable, talented, but suddenly you throw them into something that they haven't seen before, and they will stop thinking from the first principles, right? And you're smiling, so I know you've seen those situations.
Or day in and day out, and the ability to remain dynamic in a space where everything is fluid. is something that so many people miss. Everybody wants a very structured approach to say that, give me a playbook, I will follow it, I will do tack, 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 and I should get my results. And probably that's what schools have been doing. They've been saying that study this textbook, do this, give this test, you will get these marks, you will get into a college, and you will so-called live a good life. And lo and behold, when you come out of school and college with all those rattas, what do you get? You don't get what you probably signed. The world has changed. So it's so difficult for the, and then there's that angst that kind of builds up. So yeah, I get what you're saying. So you find people less and less adaptable to an ever-changing world.
And the world is changing at a faster speed. Every 5 years, it's changing.
The change cycles have become so much smaller that for anybody to keep up with it is more challenging. Great. So these are a couple of things that you've noticed where communication is of prime importance, and is of greater importance probably than ever, because there are so many different channels, and everybody is trying to say something, but if your message is not loud and clear, then it just gets lost in the noise. Okay, great. Yeah.
So for me, it's my approach to life has totally changed after I came into creativity. Like when I was in business, there was this race because I had to outperform certain people, and you had to be number one in terms of production or in quality or something, and then you could survive. But if you need to be creative, and what I've learned most from my gurus is basically, if you are trying to run to win a race, you're not doing anything in creativity. Like, so you basically need to be observer and try to react to whatever comes to you in life, right? For example, a great photograph for me is when I'm reacting correctly to a given situation, right? I'm not preparing that I need to be here and these are to be settings and this is what I do, and then make a great picture. So I'm not there to make a great business or make a great person of myself or to prove a statement that I'm a great photographer. I just need to react correctly to whatever life throws at us. And that's basically helped me to become a better photographer. And when your work speaks, automatically people come to you, and life just goes on. So when you stop making that effort of to be there or to win a race, I think that's when life eases out and you are more at peace within yourself as a creative person, and you're doing much better because there's less pressure. And I don't care if she doesn't like a photograph of mine, and you like it, because it's always very subjective. So there's no pressure. And one thing that I've learned recently is to take off the pressure of third party validation, which all of us have, right? So Instagram has brought so much pressure on all of us throughout our lives in different forms, that we need to validate things for others to tell us. Like, if I'm on a podcast today, I'm a good photographer. That's what I feel, that I must be somebody good. That's why I'm invited here and sitting with somebody who's achieved so much in life, right? But I'll give an example. When I started photography about 25 years ago, I shot for 1 year. And basically after 1 year I thought I'm a very average photographer, and I gave up my camera, right? And when I was not doing anything for 6 years, I was posting images to different contests across the world because I was not doing anything. And then suddenly on one day, I got a call in the night that I'm calling from National Press Photographers Association of America, and you won the first prize among the only 3 in the world who have got it. I said, fine.
Wow. And you said fine.
I said, I just said, that's nice, but what's the cash prize? Because we are from Gujarat.
Pehle ye batao.
So after 1 month again, there was a call from Venice. There was an exhibition where they invited some of the work, and then CNBC gave an award, and there was a ministry award, and things started happening. You were there in the newspapers. Wow. And then as was speaking to my wife, I said, I think I'm a good photographer. You're winning so many efforts. So that was a mistake, but it was a good mistake that I believed it, and I bought a camera back. Okay. And the first thing I did was basically I looked for a guru. Okay. Because you can teach certain things, but certain skills or certain things in life can only be acquired. I feel they cannot be taught to you, right? And I think the biggest lapse, probably I should be saying this later, that I feel is missing in the next generation, even in my children, is that there is an absence of guru-shishya relationships that's there now. Okay. Like when I met my guru, who's Raghu Rai, who's one of the greatest in the world, right? Okay. So I knew if I had to learn, I had to learn only from him. And I was already I think about 37 or 38, so it was not a learning age. But I went to him and I showed him my work, and I said, Guruji, ye kaam maine 3 saal se kaam kiya. It was an exhibition which I had done in about 7-8 museums in India, and I showed him the work, and he saw it, the work. He said, theek hai. So I said, it took me 3 years to do this work and you saw it in like 20 seconds. And what do you mean, theek hai? So I was waiting for the validation for him to say, boss, kya kaam kiya tune to yaar? But he didn't say that. And it took to me, I took it to my ego, saying that, yaar, ye to banda kuch bol hi nahi raha because I've shown it to so many people, 20
Like,
newspapers have
more
published it. So I
validation,
need
Yeah.
more validation. I need to be there, you know. So I was in the race. And he said, तुम्हारा काम है ना बहुत बीमार है. This is what he tells me in a first meeting, and you know, I was just shaken up. I said, "What the hell, bimar hai? Like I'm a great. I don't need this guy. I'm going out of here." So I just went out of the office and then sat for 5 minutes and came back to him and said, "Guruji, अगर काम बीमार है तो इसको ठीक आप ही करेंगे. मैं आपके पाँव पकड़ के यहाँ बैठा हूँ. मैं काम धंधा सब छोड़ दूंगा, but मेरा काम आप सुधार के दो." You know, and after 6 months, he called me out of nowhere. He said, "I'm doing a book on Gujarat. Will you assist me?" Now, I was already in business. I was with my father. I was handling 3 factories, 60 people working for us. There was no time. We were in the race of doing so many things. And my father said, "Absolutely, do what you want. I'll manage the business. Just get lost from here." You know, so 3 months I was there traveling, and you know, it's through these experiences in different fields, all of us need to learn and you know, absorb so much. I think that will take us to a more silent space in life. I don't know whether you need to be there. We need to be there, but I don't need to be there. I just need to find a silent space, and only then me, you, or anybody or the children can, you know, succeed in at least creative fields.
Wow. So many strands to pull from there. It's like literally, imagine the serendipities that need to happen to even get you to where you are. But I think we look for so much structure. We want so many assurances in life that ye hoga to ye hoga, ye hoga to ye hoga, etc., that we just close ourselves down to any new opportunities that come. And of course, the fact that, as you mentioned, you need a family, you need support system where you can follow your passions. I believe that's also something that a lot of people at times find missing. So they are in that rat race where they believe, if I don't do this, there's no way for me to probably survive, move ahead, even probably just stay where I am. So yeah, it's a great story. Honestly, I didn't know so much about all that. So of course, all of us have seen his pictures. I don't know if you have or not, but he amazing pictures. Like, you can just keep staring at them forever and ever. So yeah, great. Lovely to hear this. What I want to know also from you is this idea of saying, what is it that the schools need to reschool themselves in? So when I say reschool, while the book is here and all of that, and we are looking at schools in a different fashion than probably say 5, 10, 20 years earlier, but they are all cosmetic, small little changes. One of the things when I mentioned is very true. We're finding a guru and spending hands-on time with him. In classrooms, what we notice is there's one person trying to teach like a batch of people and all that, all with their own minds and all with their own ways of thinking and all that. So that's probably not being very effective in today's world, is my understanding. But what's your take on it? What do we need to do to reschool ourselves?
See, if I look at the last 10 years, I think schools have done a lot. I mean, you are running a great school, which, I mean, I met the students, they're awesome. So we need to first acknowledge that in the last 10 years, schools have really come up. And I see a lot of leaders like you taking a stand and saying that, hey, this is how my school needs to be, and this is what I'm going to emphasize, which unfortunately hasn't happened in the higher ed. It has happened in the schools, but not in the higher ed. And that's why our students who study at these topmost schools like yours suddenly find themselves lost when they go to universities, and hence the trend of going abroad every year, right? Because
the children are used to a certain pedagogy, they're used to a certain way of being treated, respected, asked, and then if you're put in a one size fits all environment where you're told, okay, here's a curriculum, here's what you do, here's the test, and just go and do this.
And if you question, it's considered an insult.
Oh, all these kids would be fired on day one. Our kids are.
Exactly. So I think schools have done a lot. But if you're still asking what the schools can do, I still today get some schools who say that, hey, you know what, our curriculum needs to evolve, and we are working on finding the perfect curriculum. I think schools need to understand that there's nothing called a perfect curriculum. I have by now gone to more than 100 schools, and these are the topmost schools of the country, and everybody is doing fine, and they all have their own curriculum. So there's no perfect curriculum, right? But knowing that what are some of the skills, all the learning outcomes that we are looking at, and then figuring out what works for that clientele or the students that you have, because different geographies are very different. How a Gujarat thinks, where how a Karnataka thinks is very different, right? So schools have to cater to that, and it's a very local environment that you operate in. So I think one is, we as schools need to build character.
Okay.
What I have seen is that our students have probably, after going to 12 classes in a week, have become very talented. But at the same time, when I see 17, 18-year-olds walking into a master's union, I don't think enough work has been done on integrity or ethics. Right. So first that I think
Probably building more character and leaving the skill acquisition to when the mind is more capable of absorbing those abstract concepts.
correct. I think if you learn photography at 38, that can be learned. But can character be built at 38? No, it's the childhood years.
Exactly. Those are the formative years in which you learn the
What is
value of
right versus
what is
wrong.
right and what is wrong.
So
And yeah, what you said, I absolutely disagree with. You're never too old to learn. So yeah, when you say that at 37 I was too old to learn and all that, I think we're never too old to do that. Yes, there is, of course, there's social stigma of saying, when can we pick it up? Could I try it and all that? That probably remains.
fair. So one is definitely the character part of it, where I think the schools need to do a little bit more. And then second is, no matter how much we say from the outside, that every child is different, every child deserves a different path, etc. I still feel a lot of schools taking pride in, hey, we got X students in IIT, hey, we got Y students in Ivy Leagues. I mean, you're saying that you believe in diversity and kids following the passion, but at the back of the mind, you're pressurizing your students to fit into the outcomes that you want to publicize. Then obviously the child will feel the pressure, right? So if these two, I don't know how, but if these two can be worked on, I think that's the most important.
Great. So what you're saying is that schools need to be more character based and not, as you said, not just curriculum and scholastic attitude based. And secondly, they need to be clear of what is it that they are offering. If you're offering a holistic learning, but all you talk about is achievement of student placements, then you're signaling something very contrary to what you're claiming. And that just doesn't cut the deal. The parent can see through it, the child can see through it, and so can the teacher. So the teacher also knows कि ये सब आप जो बोल रहे हो, all of that is बकवास. End में मेरे को आप आके मुझे पूछोगे कि कितने मार्क कितने बच्चों के आए. So that doesn't work. Yes, I agree. So those are definitely things that we as schools need to get it right. I don't know how, but yes, you are.
One very simple thing that I've said it throughout my talk is, are we doing something that we love in life or not? I realize it very late, but I think that's the biggest thing that I want to imbibe in me, and also to everybody who I meet, that you need to follow what you love in life, right? So if I ask, see, I've been working with very different strata of schools. So when we are talking about changing a school, so through UNICEF I probably shoot about 100 schools in a year, where I'm working across 20 states, and we work with government schools, and I also shoot for various international NGOs who are helping children. So the this statement varies a lot when we talk about my children, because they're studying in this school, and the children who are studying in those schools.
Agreed.
Right? So the simplest answer is, if I go back and ask my child, what is the most favorite place in the world that you want to be at? If he says it's school, I think you're doing it right. If he does not, you need to understand from him, not from me or not from her or not from whom, कि हमें ऐसा क्या बदलना है ताकि बच्चा बोले कि this is what the most favorite place I want to go there, because I like studies or because I like sports or whatever.
I like my friends.
Yes.
I probably
like
just
my friends.
belong
Yes.
there.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example. There was a school in Jaisalmer. You might have seen pictures
yes,
of
the
the
circular
circular school. So we had shot it
Yes.
after the COVID this thing. So it's a school which stands in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, right? Like the 40 kilometers, there's the sand around it. 45 degrees, it's an open school, right? And only Muslim girls from around villages come and study there. So after COVID, I was sent there. It was just about to open, and 18 ही बच्चे उस दिन आए थे वहाँ पर. and basically we were sent to photograph their experiences. So the moment the children got down, we were ready with wafers and candies कि इनको खुश करेंगे कि हम मिलना है. They didn't care who you were. They jumped off the bus and champions, they ran to the school and they were running all around the building, चिल्ला रहे, चीख रहे, and you could make out that they are having the time of their life. 8 घंटे मैं थक गया उनको शूट करके, but वो बच्चे नहीं थके. And it was not like proper winter, गर्मी थी, but they were enjoying like anything. Absolutely. I said, boss, this is the most favorite place they have in the world. पढ़ तो नहीं रहे थे because हमने पढ़ते हुए नहीं देखा था. So one of my colleagues, she was talking to one of the girls and कि बच्चे आपको यहाँ आके इतनी खुशी क्यों मिली आज? So circumstances also changed. तो वो कह रही थी हम 3 महीने से घर कोविड में बंद थे. पापा के पास काम नहीं था. He was frustrated. He was hitting my mother. He was scolding my mother. He was taking her frustration on us also. मेरी माँ फ्रस्ट्रेशन हम पे निकाल रही थी, मेरा भाई मुझ पे निकाल रहा था, मैं उस पे निकाल रही थी, सारे फ्रस्ट्रेट हो गए थे. दिस इज द प्लेस वेयर आई लिबरेट माई सेल्फ, नॉट ओनली कोविड बट ड्यूरिंग डिफरेंट टाइम्स ऑल्सो, राइट? सो दैट्स वाई द स्कूल वॉज द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट of her life, right? So that was one aspect. 1 month later I go to another school in Badmer, and basically we were to shoot a story on 2 kids whose grandparents were taking care of them. एंड वो लोग वहाँ, वी वर अर्ली एंड वी वर वेटिंग विद द किड्स. वो बच्चे चल के आ रहे हैं. बोला भाई तुम्हारा स्कूल का है? बोला वो गांव में. मैंने कहा यार वो तो 3-4 किलोमीटर दूर है. बोले 3-4 नहीं सर, 7 किलोमीटर दूर है. तो बोला तुम दोनों आए कैसे? बोले पैदल. तो बोला तुम गए कैसे? बोले पैदल. तो बोला ऐसा कितनी बार करते? बोलते रोज. बोला यार तुम्हें तो स्कूल जाने में बहुत गुस्सा आता होगा, दादा रोज डांटता होगा. बोले बिल्कुल नहीं, अगर नहीं जाऊंगा तो मुझे खेत में काम कराएगा. सो मुझे वहां जाके पढ़ना है और मुझे तो आर्मी में जाना है. अब वो स्कूल ने उसको वो प्रॉमिस दी थी कि तू यहाँ पढ़ेगा तो आर्मी मैन बनेगा, और somehow he had that, it became the most favorite place on the earth. Now हमारे जो बच्चे, उनको अगर हम पूछते हैं कि what do you like to do in school, they will never stay at that मुझे स्कूल जाके पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है. So are we going wrong? I don't know. I'm sure you're giving them the best facilities, you're doing your best, they're the best of the textbook, but why are they not saying I love to go and study in school? So I don't know what you need to change or what I need to change, but something has to change.
Yeah, I think we're still operating from the lens of scarcity while our children are growing up in surplus. And when you have everything, what is it that drives you? And hence probably your question of saying, okay, you need to find your love language, your passion, things that move you. Because clearly for the urban Indian, for the class that lives in the new cities today, for them studies is not something that seems to be of prime importance. And very often I find them being more influenced by YouTubers and by studying those things. Then no teacher can be as animated as Mr. Beast. So in their minds, they just stay there. But amazing stories what you shared.
And just one thing I want to add is, in parenting classes हमें हमेशा बोला जाता है अपना काम घर मत लाओ, बट बच्चों को तो स्कूल हमेशा घर लाना ही है, बिकॉज वो होमवर्क लेके भी आते हैं. वी ऑलवेज टेल देम कि होमवर्क किया, कल क्या करना है, एग्जाम कब आ रहा है, ये कब होगा, वो कब होगा. तो उनका तो स्कूल छूटता ही नहीं है, बिकॉज हर रोज घर आके भी 3 घंटे दे हैव टू स्टडी. डू इट, आई एम नॉट सेइंग गुड और बैड, it might be necessary, but basically if we are taught as adults to leave work back at office, children should leave school back at school. They're spending 8 hours a day out of 24 hours, so
that should be enough.
One part of life and just finish everything. Ghar aake just do something else in life,
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, so many parents would get so frustrated if their children didn't have anything to do at home, concerned with schooling, because very often we just get these kind of requests. They're like, you should give more homework. I'm like, what? Who asked for this? But yeah, there are times when this happens. And what you said is right in terms of schools, where you're saying that schools very often act as that space of just being that valve, because back home sometimes the child cannot express himself, cannot really be open, and there are so many different pressures that child lives with. So yeah, let's hope that schools reschool themselves to become emotionally safe spaces where children don't stay under the fear of ABC authority, of parent, of somebody's expectations, of somebody's unmet expectations. So if only we could redesign schools to become places and oases of love and belonging and just care more than anything else. I think if for 15 years of your life, early years, you've got caring adults to be with you, I believe those children should just fly and flourish. I don't think anything else would be required. And then for everything else, we always have ChatGPT and Google. So the rest of the thing, like,
And YouTube these
and
days.
YouTube. So you don't know this, please go figure. Like, go to Khanmigo. I don't care where you learn from. That is not my problem. Your integration and calculus is something for you to figure out, and not for me to kind of. But if you don't have that emotional resilience of just being able to withstand change, of being able to survive a heartbreak, to just take somebody telling you on your face that तुम्हारा काम बीमार है, because there will be times in life when you will be told that. So until unless you can take it on the chin, I believe we will probably raise a very fickle and generation that cannot withstand this. So yeah, let's hope that. Moving forward, here's ReSchool in front of both of you. If you could just browse through it, if you have any questions for me, or if you could just tell me what are your thoughts on this?
So I haven't read the book. I
That's
look
okay,
forward
you
to go
could
back and read this book.
Reading it.
You could probably just browse through it. These are just small bite-sized chapters, so you can.
But given that you run the school, I would
Yes.
love to ask you this, right? Because I run a college and
True.
I'm struggling with this, right? As you said, today's generation has been brought up in surplus, right?
Yes.
So we were taught that education, अगर पढ़ोगे, अगर IIT, I was told, right? अगर IIT जाओगे तो life set हो जाएगा.
वो तो 10th से बोलते हैं 10th करोगे तो लाइफ से 12th करोगे.
And I genuinely believe, because hey, from that, came the opportunities, etc. Now, today's kid who has been born in surplus, sab kuch hai, has seen all the luxuries. And I have seen this, right? One of the employees in my company, I gave a hard feedback that, hey, your work is so and so, please correct it. And he came back to me and said, I don't like the fact that you gave me feedback. And it was a very subtle feedback. It was not even a full-fledged hard feedback. And he said, I'm very sensitive, I'm hurt. I'm like, okay, so what do you want me to do? Should I not give you feedback? Because that will be unfair as a manager. Should I just sit on it? Because that's unfair to this organization. Should I fire you without giving a feedback? That's unfair to you. So what am I supposed to do? So as a school leader, how are you building this emotional resilience, which is so needed, because these students have never been rejected in their life and they have been served everything on a platter?
Wow. I think you asked this at the right opportune time, and Vinay can always correct me if I. So throughout our schooling years, what happens is, if the child is getting feedback only in terms of mark sheets, then that child doesn't know how to take it on the face and all of that. But specifically at GG, I guess we do a lot of events, specifically Founders Play, I'll talk of, which is just happening in some 10-15 days. So each and every child comes up with something that they would want to present at Founders Play. So it could be a product, service, whatever. And all of it is vetted. So they literally, this is just one example, but they literally come with their product and they'll show it to us and all of that. And we will rip it apart. Like, we are literally called the sharks. Just today morning, so there's me, Shivani ma'am, we will set up tables and chairs and all of that and sit there, and the students will come one by one. And these, you're talking 8-year-olds, 10 years old, 12-year-old, 15-year-olds, anything. They'll come up with their own idea and we'll be like, but this doesn't work. This is flaky. I don't like the quality of this. Take this back. And then you tell them, and then they'll be like, is this approved? Is this okay? And then we have a board on which we write in case we like it. We're like, okay, this is approved. You should see the happiness when it is approved. It feels like they've got some $1 million funding and all of that. And you should see the dejection when it is not. But one thing we've realized is that this is so important. There are parents who literally written to us saying that my child was really hurt when you said that his product was not accepted. I'm like, I understand, but that is our job.
Yeah.
We will have to tell the kids if it is not working, if it is not up to the mark. Then there are questions like, the 2-3 लोगों ने मिलके, they started a company and all that, and then there's a fallout, and me and my partner, we are not getting along. Then they'll be like, I said yesterday there were 3 of you. Yeah, ma'am, but he has left the company. So probably emotional resilience only comes, Swati, when you let humans interact with each other and interact freely without adult intervention. I think what the kids or our generation earlier had was the ability to fight, was the ability to be with other kids your age, 2 years plus, minus 5, etc., but the ability to solve your own problems. If as adults we are constantly intervening and we are speaking for a child and we are trying to shield them from all the so-called bad things in life, your children are never going to learn how to face this, right? So this person that you spoke about, if only that child had been told by his friends a couple of times, by his teachers, and he was probably just given a stay back in the school and all of that, that child would have known, okay, there are times when I will be told harsh truths and I have no choice but to accept it. But I think as adults, we need to step away. We need to step away and let it be. One thing I do for my children is like, your problem you solve, I don't solve. You ended up in this mess, you come out of this mess. I refuse to be a part of it. So whatever your problem is, you bloody got yourself in it, you will get yourself out of this. But as adults, as parents, I think you have to draw a line that when you step in and when do you not. So
And with current set of parenting, I see a lot of parents stepping in.
or stepping in, overtaking.
Yeah.
Stepping in would be fine. There are parents who are like literally vicariously living their child's lives.
True. Even at Masters Union, which is a college, I mean, your child is already 18 years. I've had parents calling me saying, hey, the decision that you've taken for my child is a little bit too harsh.
Oh, really?
Take it back. So it was like a small punishment that we had given.
Hala.
Yeah.
Problem.
No. And then an 18-year-old not getting a room with a balcony in the hostel. I get a call from the parent. Oh, mere bachche ko aap please balcony wala room. I'm like, can the kid not request on their own? And if I deny it, then let's talk. But no.
So, yeah, I mean, kids, I don't know, what do parents really hope to...
Today I was just sitting in, while for my visa interview, I was sitting in the premium lounge. There was a little less space. So a child was sitting and his mom came in late. So she was asked to sit outside the glass door. तो जाते तो बोले सीधो बैठ जाए, वेफर ना खा तो, thumbs up ना पी तो, आ ना कर तो. I was just sitting and the child, that poor kid, 6-year-old, came and sat and he was happily looking at the TV and he was watching what's going on. He was carefully observing क्या हो रहा है. She would come and peep के बैठो છે ને કઈ કરતો નથી ને સાહેબ કહેજો તમને હેરાન કરે ના બેન બેઠો છે. So she goes out and then he started talking to me કે અંદર કેમ જાય છે. મેં કીધું અંકલ અંદર ફોટા પડાવે કે આ ફોટા પડાવવાથી શું થાય. મેં કીધું આને બાયોમેટ્રિક્સ કહેવાય. આપણે અંગૂઠા આપીએ પછી તું લંડન જઈને અંગૂઠો નાખીશ તો એ લોકો ઓળખી લેશે કે તું જ છે. આ ફોર્મ કેમ ભર્યું, પછી આ વિઝા શું કહેવાય, તમને તારી મમ્મી તને કીધું નથી તો અહીંયા કેમ આવ્યા. ના મને તો કીધું સવાર તૈયાર થઈ જાય જલ્દી જવાનું આપણે લંડન જવા માટે કંઈ લેવાનું છે. Then so he understood the whole process and 10 minutes માં તું અહીં બહાર બેસ ને કીધું બહુ ધમાલ કરે. I said બેન એ વિઝા શું હોય ને બાયોમેટ્રિક્સ એ બધું શીખી ગયો, તમે ચિંતા ના કરો એને એકલો મૂકો. The whole idea of not letting children interacting, exploring things needs to open out a lot here.
They do. I think you got the Gujarati drift of it.
I'm Sindhi, so a little bit of it I get.
So yeah, as parents, we fail to give context to our children. We're only giving instructions. We're saying, ऐसे बैठना, ये करना, वहाँ मत जाना, ये मत खाना, वो मत खाना. पर क्यों मत करना? Who's going to sit and do that context building for that child?
Give the logic. Kids are very logical these days.
Oh, yeah. And they can sense it from a distance if you are just trying to fool them. Yeah. So I definitely believe that our children today need much more buy-in in order to be a part of anything. Once they have it, then it's not a problem. But till then, of course, they will question you.
And I've also conducted over 300 workshops earlier for we've interacted with 8,000 photographers also. What I feel in today's world, what is changing is the attention span is very small. 15 seconds में we are able to comprehend so much जो शायद in my childhood it took me maybe 2 hours to comprehend. My son or my daughter can comprehend that in like 15 seconds. उनको पता है, they're flipping so much reels or whatever we call it. So that challenge is there on how are we going to hold them for 1 hour, or are they going to write the 3 hour long exams, or do we need that format or not?
Absolutely.
Because they are analyzing things much faster. So is that right, is it wrong? We need to get back on that and address this issue from that angle also.
True. Attention spans are decreasing by a huge margin almost every year. So like this podcast that we are doing, there will be hardly a few people who will watch the whole podcast. Most of this, there will be cut down in reels and everybody will just consume those 20-30 second bites and then, samajh gaya kya hai. So nobody really has that time and probably inclination to even do this. So yeah, great. And that moves me to the next part and my favorite part of saying a rapid fire round. Great. So, welcome to the rapid fire round. It's pretty simple. First, they are just one word answers and both of you can just pop at the same time. All right. So, team tea or team coffee?
Team coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Cats or dogs?
None.
Dogs.
Dogs. Okay. Kaju badam.
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 Okay. Um, beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
Beaches.
Okay. And mornings or nights?
Mornings.
It was nights earlier, now it's mornings. I think I'm aging with time.
Same here. I used to be a night owl and now I'm a morning person. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what happened except age, of course. But yeah, it changes. Okay. So if you were the principal of a school, if you were given all the authority, etc., and if you were made the principal of a school, what is one aspect of the school that you would like to change?
No homework, maybe.
Okay. No homework. Record this. I mean, I'm sure all kids would love this. Here's our principal. No homework. Yeah.
I think the uniforms, I really appreciate what you've done. And I have known few schools that have like no uniforms at all. You still maintain some decorum. But that I think kind of gives the flexibility of the child to showcase their personality, and it also indicates that everybody is different rather than just putting everybody in the same box.
Another principle the students would want.
And I think more focus on mental health. You know, a lot more programs on mental health for children.
Wow. Okay. So looking at the finer aspects of life and no uniform. So through no uniform, you let the child ascertain their own personality and their own likes and dislikes. Great. So there's a chapter in ReSchool, if you happen to read it, where we are simply talking about give and take. So one of the things, we had a hard time getting our children into this uniform. For many years, we were like, okay, these children wouldn't come in uniform. We were like, and for me personally, it makes no reason for me to tell the child or give them discipline action. You know, like he's coming to school, no, he's studying. Why does it matter उसने क्या कपड़े पहने? But still, over a period of time, we realized that uniform helps in taking away a lot of decision fatigue.
Correct.
And we still don't do shoes. So that's like a very conscious decision on our part where we are not mandating any shoes. Because that just lets the children belong. Somehow shoes are such an in thing for them.
Sneakers are a big thing for teenagers.
And just allowing that has taken away so much problem. So we're like, listen, whatever you want, for a week's time, that child, whichever new uniform, whichever new shoes they'll have, they'll feel good. And then it's all a part of life and all of that. So yeah, no uniforms, essentially just having some level of freedom and autonomy to be in a school helps them.
But I like the fact that you have very comfortable uniform with those track pants. I mean, if they're here for 8 hours, they need to wear something that's comfortable.
Ahmedabad heat is maddening. This whole idea of wearing a tie. आज तक मेरे को समझ में नहीं आया. All my life I wore those like kadak kapde and tie and all of that. I'm like, what were we really aiming for? But yeah, if you could have dinner with a historical figure, with anybody from the whole wide world of history, who would that be and why?
If you're in Gujarat, you know, Mahatma Gandhi comes to my mind, and obviously he's the father of the nation, has done a lot. If I get a dinner table with him,
You'd love that. Okay, so one figure you would like to have dinner with would be Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, great.
For me, it's always Raghurai. So one more dinner with him.
Wow. Okay. A guilty pleasure TV show.
you're going to record this, but I'll go ahead and say it's the recent one that's called the Wives of the Hollywood Wives, the Bollywood Wives. So these are the four.
Oh yeah, Neelam and all that. Yeah.
It's very entertaining. It is very entertaining. I have binge watched it when I had time in life. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. That's why I said guilty pleasure. Otherwise, we end up watching a lot of things. But yeah, guilty
Correct.
pleasure.
So I watch a lot of Formula One series.
Oh.
That's when I get time.
Formula One.
Drive to Survive.
Okay. I just watched a movie recently called Ferrari, I think.
Yes, Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari was old. There's a new one that's out. It's just Ferrari and it's about the 1930s and all that, and interesting. So you're into Formula One, is it?
No, I just got into cars more because last year we did this, we shot a documentary.
Oh, yes. And that brings me to the next question, and I know your answer. Your favorite trip, the most amusing trip, and you need to hear this. So yeah, if you could tell
So
us
last year, a friend of mine who's the craziest guy I've known, and he said, I'm celebrating my 50th birthday, I want to drive from India to London. I said, fine, you can go because I'm not going to waste my time. And then he said, I'm going to drive in my 1950 vintage car.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
He said that, and I said, how on earth is it going to make it?
Make it.
He said, why don't you come with me and see how it makes it?
Wow.
I said, what do I do by seeing it? I have to shoot. There's so much I can't waste my time. He said, boss, don't waste your time. Invest your time. Make a documentary on it.
Wow.
I said, fine. So we agreed to be a part of it. 4 days before we were leaving, I had pitched for the biggest assignment of my life, and I get an email just 4 days before it that your assignment is approved. Please start shooting in 10 days. Wow. Now it's the biggest amount of money that's going to come to me, and it's a huge assignment. You're doing a big book for somebody, and this trip is an unpaid trip where I'm just going for I don't know for what. And then I just told myself that do I do this or do that, because
Both are not
never decide. And luckily I took the trip.
Okay.
And for 76 days we did about 17 countries. The car would break down every day. We were pushing it, repairing it, shooting it.
Seriously?
And we did it in 80 days, 76 cities, 76 new apartments, and in 3 pairs of clothes.
Wow.
Wow.
It's the Lal Pari, right?
The Lal Pari trip.
Wow. Unbelievable. So how many of you were there?
So 3 of us did it 100%. My friend, his 75-year-old father and me. And his daughter, who's 21, did 80% of the trip. My wife was there for a month. Okay. So we used to keep changing teams.
Okay.
But so on an average 6 of us.
Unbelievable. Wow. What amazing journeys all of us lead.
I need this courage to do things like this. I've never been that adventurous.
Yeah.
So, after his answer, I don't think any of our trips are going to count. But nevertheless,
Nothing will count. Whether I say Spain or US, nothing will count. So just let it be.
Okay. So, life offers you these kind of opportunities. I think it just takes courage to grab one, to grab it and say that I'm going to take this.
And the most important thing was what he said and what others, and also realized that 3 months of your time without work at this age, where you're the only breadwinner of the family and you're leaving about 40 or 50 paid assignments, is not a waste of time. It's an investment of time, an investment of you living your life. So you give so much to think. And I came back, and my wife also probably came back as a very different and a changed person, because we got so much to reflect on. Sure. Right? So we were shooting 9 hours every day. We were covering some days just 50 kilometers, some days 100 kilometers, some days 200 kilometers. And those moments of joy and dejection, and every day thinking, tomorrow we're going back, tomorrow we're going back. And 6 people in this age living in the same apartment every day.
Oh yes, that is also challenging.
Is also a big challenge.
Oh yes, you're so used to your own ways of living, your own small little, you become like a victim of your own habits, and then to try and change that becomes
And none of us knew where we are going on that day.
Okay, wow.
So if we headed for Austria, we knew we turned for Italy because the car broke down, right? So you never know what you're doing, but that's what it taught us so much. Whatever comes our way, we were really happy.
So talk of building dynamism. So it's like, I think we should just send our kids to these unplanned unplanned trips, and we're like, listen, you start from here, come back on this day. Very good.
So at UPenn, we had something called leadership retreats, which was like this. For 10 days, you climb a mountain, or for 10 days, you go to Antarctica. And that's how you build all of these ability to, be okay with uncertainty. And we have replicated that at Masters Union as well. So my third year students, they're going to do all of this.
Great. I mean, and those learning experiences is what will probably shape them.
That's what builds the character.
That is what builds the character. And that is when you learn how to rely on others, how to stand up in times of adversity, when to step back, when to enter into an argument, when to nod, which fights to pick and which to just let go. So great lessons there. And lastly, what wears you down? So there are things that bring you joy, and so let's put it this way: what brings you joy and what wears you down?
So what brings me joy is impacting lives, right? Even if you help somebody, in a very small way. I keep getting cold emails. Hey, can you give me your 5 minutes? I need guidance on that. Whatever it is. And obviously, when you're in education, you're impacting lives, right? So that brings me joy. What wears me down is injustice. right? And when I see that happening by the most and the most educated people, right? And these could be small things of how you make choices, and I don't have any specific examples, but I think when people don't self-reflect and then just take a decision which is probably in the benefit of an individual but not in the benefit of the world in general, it just wears me down.
So just seeing injustice at large is what wears you down.
Yeah, yeah.
So I basically travel about 25 days a month, and I meet 25 new people a month. So, one biggest joy that I have is, I spend about 8 hours a day with new people who are big personalities to, the poorest people, but you chat for them 8 hours and you basically learning so much every day from everyone. And one chapter of life gets over every day for me, because today I'm shooting in Himachal, and tomorrow I'm maybe, shooting in London, and there's no connection between these two things. So that whole thing of life not being monotonous gives me joy, because what I do is not work at all, for me at least. And when I go back home, that little time that I get to spend with the family gives me joy and also wears me down, because it's very difficult to see your children grow when you're not there with them all the time,
Yeah.
So it's both ways.
So that which brings you joy also wears you down in some manner. Yeah, and such is life. If only there were just clear-cut answers of right and wrong, and this is okay and this is not. I think almost everything is grey and yeah. Well, that's it from my end. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. It was truly, truly, truly enriching and enjoyable. So, wishing both of you best of luck for everything you do. And I hope ReSchool in some small little manner helps you look at schools and reschool yourself in terms of how schools should be working. So,
Yeah, and I need to thank you for being so good to our children, and making them.
oh no.
Yeah. I've been super impressed with the kids that I've met today. The kind of confidence that they have. They also took us on the campus tour. Amazing.
Oh, you spend some more days, they'll make you a part of class and this and that and all of it. They will be. All right. That's it, Pravaryan. Thank you so much.